Masechet Menahot Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, 4 lines down. Gufa, we said earlier. Amar Baba Hanan Maria Chanan, Haniach Basar Gebei Gahalim, Hefech Hayav, Lo Hefech Batur. We said before, someone put meat on coals on Shabbat. If he flipped it over to cook it well, he's Hayav. He's not Batur. Everything was the case. Elim Adli Hefech Belo Bishil. If you're telling a case where if you did not turn it over, it would not become cooked. Shita, of course, Hayav. You made it cook. The Lo Hefech Name have a Bishil, but if you did not turn it over, it would have still become cooked. Amar Mahayev, why would he not be Chayav? But Shricha says no. Dilo hapecha, if you didn't turn it over, that one side would have cooked. According to the degree of cooking of Machal and Rosai, which is like a third. He was a robber that used to be always on the run, so he used to cook his food quickly. And now he split it. Bishul Mishnevesidin Machal and Rosai, now both sides are the Machal and Rosai temperature. But Kamashman teaching us the Chol Mitzad Echad Machal and Rosai Lo Kumot. And therefore we see that if only one sided is done like that, it's not considered cooked. Marava. If a dried fig of meat, size of meat, was roasted on one side of one place, chayav for cooking. Only one spot, not two or three. The time says, anybody who drills any man on Shabbat is chayav for building. What's the case? If one drilled tiny one hole, one space, what's that for? It must be two or three cases. We obviously are talking about a case where you want to combine it. Same thing over here regarding pieces of meat. Remember, it says, not talking about a case. Even one tiny hole by drilling is chayav. That has a little bit that you could use it to put like a hole from the tip of a key to um it could be the back of the lock to use as a lock for a key. Okay. Big time even say. Even two or three places are chayav. Mishnah says, if someone drills any man on Shabbat, right, so now we're doing the exact opposite of this thing. If regarding the drilling, so what we asked as a what we said as a question before, we said as a statement now. Okay, Tanoram. If the pasuk had only said that if you offer to Hashem should not be chametz, haytimar enli ella below taseh chametz. I over the love like isur. Ella comes to the vad regarding for the kmitzah to be done with chametz. Even the remainder of the mincha is chayav. Mincha. Shaman achol the other mincha also chayav. Lamar kol mincha any mincha. Okay. Next part. Asher takrivu laHashem kishirav v'lo pasula. Kashem mincha na pasulan. Mikan on therefore we see hamachmet tekshirah chayav. Someone causes a kashem mincha to become pasul or chametz. But the pasula patur. Or someone who going to say pasul mincha to become chametz also patur. So if you made a kosher one, chametz, you're chayav. If you made a pasul one, you're patur. Bayar papa, hamisa. If someone made a mincha do chametz, biyasad and left the haser, b'chazar v'chimitzad, then he came back in and he made a chametz again. What's halacha? Is he chayav for redoing a mincha, chametz again, or is he patur because he already went outside the chaser? The Gemara says, "Came with the once it will now Ipsala Biose is already pasul from leaving out. When he does makes it chametz again, Luma Chayvela Mishum Chametz Achar. Chametz he did not chayav for doing chametz twice. Or Dima came in the chametz however, we say once it's chametz once. Pasul Biose Lamahani, the pasul of leaving does not do anything. When now you're pasuling it again with the chametz, Mechayvela Mishum Chametz Achar, you should be chayav for double. Gemara says teku. Mari, someone called the mincha to be chametz on top of the mizbeach before burning it. Ma was the cha? Asher takrivu machman the pasuk only regarding the offering. V'ha'ikrev was re-offered. Therefore, yeshivator. Odima mebinat mechuzar mechaktra k'mechatatan. Maybe you say the mincha that's not burnt yet is considered not done yet, and therefore you would be chayav. Tekel. V'hashta den afka le'mei kol mincha. Now that we established that when the pasuk is any mincha, asher takrivu Hashem mamim, I need the second pasuk of bringing. Where it says, "Mibar like time you find after that to bring that about minhat nisachim himut to include the minhat nisachim for the leavening, the making chametz zasur. Everybody says this. Really, that about lachem panim lachimut, even lachem panim chayav for chametz minhat nisachim. What do you mean? May protein. How would nisachim be chayav for chametz if it's made out of fruit juices and oil mixed into flour? The one says, "Fruit juices do not make chametz." Mar says not quite problem. Mar says kish mar hayab riyas like minhan lahim begalab b'mem kshira. You can use the minhan with water to and keep it kasher. So we see that water with fruit juice can become chametz. That would be the case over here. Lechem panim. How can you say yes? Asur for lechem panim. Midat veshi. The vessel used for measuring in the for that was only solid. Vishmami later Reiki we heard Reiki say midat vesh lo kasher. That can never become kadosh. And therefore it's not kadosh to be put on the shulchan. So how can it be hayav? And before that, the Gemara says shalach Rabbi Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan kachi hatza'al sham mishnah. This is the mishnah teaching you. Ve'epoch and we switch it. That what? Asher takrivu when the pasuk says that you offer the rabot lechem panim lachimut to include lechem panim for hametz. This is the lead. But Kiva America says that rabot ben chan esachim lechimut and chan esachim. Now Rabbi Akiva holds that you're hayav for nesachim. Simply fixing that problem. فعاز ربي يخلط من ربي يخلط قصة ربي عمر يسألون ربي يسأل لي أحد مثل مداش ما يدبر أحد. It's the same thing. That what the vessels for salads were kadosh. No matter who's according to who's extra one. بيوشي أسر وش التاني says فيما شاحم فيم شاحم فيكتشوا تام. Aaron and Moshe anointed the vessels with oil and made them kadosh. ربي يوشي أمر ميتة الله من مشاخ بينهم مفنيم من مخوت. The liquid measure was anointed inside and outside. يتباش نمشي حب مفنيم. The dry one was only inside. بان لون مش هاخد not outside. بياخد كلام no. يطلع آخر مش هاخد من فريم. Liquid was inside. بان بما خلص not outside. مش هتفش لون مش هاخد carbon. The dry one was not done at all. Difference is if something touches the kadosh part, that's where the issue would be. Okay. Take the lach and I could prove to you that the dry one is not anointed. شرعين من كتشات. التيبا says مما شفوتهم تبيئوا لحمة النفاش شتم شني عاوزين مسلم مثلنا لحمة استئفنا بكوريهم لاشم. إما تلحين لاشم one day for Hashem. لآخر شنا فوسنلي after they're baked. طبعا كان في بس مخلوق بيس of بأوتام the explaining the word of otam there Hashem them Hashem Moshe anointed them. Rosh Yamer Savar Rosh holds otam ma'ute bidat yavesh lahutz. That excludes a measure that was designated for solids. They anointing on the outside. Interior was dry, nothing. Was anointed. We don't understand Savar no bidat yavesh holhu. The dry one, the solid measurement was completely non-kadosh. Below istirich kalamote, I don't need pasuk to exclude it from anointing. Kitzir chabar need the pasuk. The ma'ute bidat lah and bahus to teach you that the liquid measurements on the outside was not anointed. They agree in the same thing. No matter who's according to, basically, the Rabbi agree regarding the solids. And Rabbi Yochanan argues, why don't we just say it like that? Mar says no. Because they do not agree regarding the liquid measurements themselves. Meaning, Rabbi Yochanan says that the liquid vessels are only kadosh, only the inside. Rabbi Akiva holds are both inside and outside. That's why we didn't want to say that they're on the same. They say the same thing. Bisa. The bisa was the bowl that they used the oil and flour for ordinary minchat mixed together. Tilachu, that's used for liquids, and it was kadosh according to everybody. So that's used for the panim. Then it could make it kadosh, and you can make ibi chayav for making chametz. Kigon shalosh al gabe kitavlaya. Where you need talk about a case where you needed lechem panim on top of a piece of leather, which is not kadosh. Yachi is the case the kamar of Yonatan. And when we answered Yonatan, tell the lach shari in the kedusha that it's not kadosh. The Emily should answer him. Tikkun dachal betzun dachol. I could have just measured it on a non-kadosh container to solve the problem from before. That's why the shtel lechem is not kadosh till it's baked. So, Patti did not say this means he doesn't hold like that. You can't compare. Bishlam bisa makes sense according to the bisa. Look, tavrahanat la avi bisa la menashbe. The Torah did not say you should need it in there. That's why you could do it outside. That's why you need it on top. And the leather, that's not by the no problem. Regarding the Isaron, Torah says to specifically make the Isaron and measure it. You should not use the Kadosh one. Use the non-Kadosh one. Does that make sense? Rosh Hashanah said that you should use a non-kadosh one for the shtei lechem. How do you know that someone who brings a piece of meat from the mizbeach of a korban hatat, or from the anasham meat, or any kadoshim meat, or lower kadoshim, left over the korban omer, وممتار شتى lechem left over the shtei lechem lechem panim with lechem panim. We should have menachot the remaining any remaining parts of the menacha after the comment is taken off. شو بلس هذا حياة فلوتة ستة من المرة بس هذا كيلوز or خد غاش وتزيد جنان لشيء عشان كل شو من اللي anything is meant to be burnt. هره هو ببعض تكتيره that means you're not supposed to uh burn it. Sorry, the part anything that's left over that was not burnt already. يعني the part that's supposed to be burnt got burnt. You cannot burn the other part. وشيء لخم البنين هش مهن لإيشين but زي the شيء لخم البنين are supposed to have something burnt but it says right sounds like the remainder you can't burn but the other part you can but what's burnt but says يعطوش شيء لخم البنين the لخم البنين من شيء لخم are excluded شيء ما يشين nothing is burnt the Gemara says ما أعرف شات إن ميقوفو لإيشين there's nothing from the bread itself that's put to the fires that's why they're excluded from bringing it to the bet to make from the mizbeach in that part that's considered different. But yes, in economic, but basically all of it, the remainder is the remainder of the breads that you don't burn it at all. Itmar, anything anybody who offers up non-sacrificial parts on the mizbeach, on the ram mizbeach, but not the mizbeach itself, B'yonta Yochanan Amar Chayav as if you put it in the mizbeach. B'yonta Amar Patur because the ram is not considered mizbeach. Yochanan Amar Chayav says Chayav then it says Ham mizbeach, Ham mizbeach, and the mizbeach, Alin mizbeach. كيف من هذا the ramps also considered خياف تنوار فالمذبح لو يعلو لريح نخوخ بلازم مثل فتور رازي رزق فتور تمتع واي تمكرا سأرد ودفاش قربان رشي تكريفو أوتام أوتام هو دل بيلاخ كيفش مذبح أو regarding شلخ من the fruits I included the ramp like the مذبح itself أما ميدا حرينا but anything else لا the ramp is not like the مذبح فبيقولنا يوحنا كنت بيوحنا هاي أوتام بعيد لعبد لي ورز بدا بسوك يبقى كان ينسى في الفاهم بريتا Yeah, yeah, a person might think that he can make a pledge and bring a يعني he's volunteering to bring a shelech and korban. Maybe you could make it into a legit korban. But korban neba therefore they say pasuk moses v'techash bo hasita because you're supposed to follow your what you say. Tell me what the pasuk says. Korban reshit takrivu tzibur l'marti lecha v'le'achid. Only the community can bring this, not a person. Yahid maybe even a single person cannot bring a voluntary shalechem. She'enu mevi chavato because he can't bring the community one like we just said. Avi hey tzibur maybe the community one can bring a voluntary one. Shemevi chavato because it does have a requirement for a regular one. So no matter otam only them. Uma yesh lavi what you bring as a community from the honey and the chametz. Shtei alechem min seor. Shtei alechem it comes from leaven with it comes from yeast. Ubukurim and dvash and bikurim that comes from honey. Any fruit. صافي رقم من هبن